loves me, she loves me not. She loves me, she loves me not. She loves me.
I'm a loser. I'm a loser.
It is. Welcome back to Mountaineer Rants. Yeah, good to be with you again. I'm Terry. This is Paul. We're here to talk to you today about coaching and coaches specifically.
There was an item in the paper here not long ago about the basketball coach from Texas when the Austin Police Department arrested the head coach of the Texas basketball program. Now, some people are referring to him as the Austin Strangler.
I've heard that, the Austin Strangler. I like that.
Because he was accused of assaulting a family member, his fiancée, where she said he choked me, bit me, bruises all over my legs, throwing me around and going nuts.
You know, now prior to this happening, I had known the guy, and he coached at Texas Tech, and we'd
Name is Beard.
Chris Beard. We'd played against him. He's got some antics on the courts and some of that, but you expect some of that from a coach, but you didn't know anything more about him than that, and so.
He had some antics with Huggins one time.
He did. He got thrown out of a game. He got on the floor and was doing a thing imitating what the player did to the referee, and the referee got mad and threw him out. And then when he got thrown out, he went over and fist bumped with Bob Huggins before he left the arena. So I thought that was very interesting.
Now Beard himself is a winner. He's 7-1 with Texas. They're ranked. He's put together a good team. He's always tough. And in fairness to Chris, his fiancée has now issued a statement saying that I apologize for the role I played in this unfortunate event. I realized my frustration in breaking his glasses initiated the physical struggle between Chris and myself. Chris did not strangle me, and I told that to law enforcement that evening. Chris has stated that he was acting in self-defense, and I do not refute that. I do not believe Chris was trying to intentionally harm me in any way. It was never my intent to have him arrested or prosecuted. We appreciate everyone's support and prayers during this difficult time.
Now, let me go on right off the bat. We weren't there, so we don't know what happened. We really don't know what happened. But he is the head coach at the University of Texas, getting paid a lot of money, and it's an example to young men. And
this is his second season of a 7-year contract that they terminated. They terminated him for cause, and he's fired. So that brings us to the question today. What do you want in a coach?
That's a really good question. What do you want in a coach?
And how much of what you do away from work should affect your work?
It's true.
Certainly you don't want an airline pilot drinking in the airline bar. Even if
24 hours from bottle to throttle, that's the thing they say.
Even if he's not flying, even if it's on the end of the shift, it just looks bad to the passengers to see an airline pilot drunk in the airline bar. So if you're the employer, you might say, I don't want that. Certainly you don't want a police officer handing out political ballots, because that looks bad. Certainly you don't want any of your coaches to do things that might reflect poorly on the institution.
Exactly.
On the other hand, if I'm having a fight with my wife and I'm a plumber, what does one have to do with the other?
Do I even know if I'm going to hire a plumber if he's ever had that problem with his wife? And then secondly, do I even care? Because I just want him to fix my pipes. Right?
So your accountant, your barber, your plumber, your doctor, what if they've had a DUI or had a fight with their wife or they cheated on their taxes? What difference does it make? Or do we apply a different standard with the coaches? Now, for example, suppose you've got a couple of coaches that are winning, but one of them is a big drunk. He gets thrown out of bars. He avoids DUIs, perhaps by the cops taking him home. Does that bother you? Because he's winning.
Now, there's more factors involved here because he's a coach. Now, what is he coaching? Is he coaching NFL? Does it matter as much? Although at NFL is entertainment. is he coaching college where he's should be an example for young men and how to act?
How about college?
These are all variables. All right, let's say
So
college.
let's take another one. Let's say you've got the coach who's coaching in college and he's winning, but he's cheating on his wife, maybe cheating on his wife with a cheerleader, maybe creating a hostile environment for the other people, maybe cursing people out, maybe doing things behind the camera, maybe bringing in players that hang out in strip clubs and are getting in trouble with the law. Do you care? If you don't care and he wins, then he stays on. If you care and make that known to the administration, then because it reflects on the institution, they may run him off.
Al Davis used to say, "Just win, baby." Now,
Just
that wasn't
win, baby.
NFL. That was the Oakland Raiders franchise. Is that your point of view? That's where the debate comes in, I think.
Right now, West Virginia is blessed with a couple of good coaches, solid people, care about the kids, work hard, stay out of trouble, but they're not winning enough for some of the fans, and they want to run them off, even though they may be good images to the kids. So let's talk about some of the extremes. Coach Joe Paterno was, I think, a solid guy. He had Sandusky. Not only did they run him off, even though he won and won national championships, they took his records away from him.
Yeah, they did.
They disqualified all his wins.
They did.
He won that back, by the way, in court. That was reinstated. They pulled his statue down and all the rest of it because they were saying, we want something more than just wins. Do you fall into that category? And if so, where do you draw the line?
It's a good point. I mean, not excusing anything that happened, because I think it's pretty disgusting what actually happened there. And we don't know the role that Paterno played in it, whether he actively knew about it and covered it up, or whether he just simply did what he was supposed to do and didn't want to get involved. However, the problem is he won a lot, and he won a lot of games. And so if you don't care about the other stuff and just win, baby, then why did we pull his statue down? Why was he fired?
We could go get a coach out of the prisons if he's a good coach, and if he could be an embezzler, he could be a murderer, he could be whatever. Now, I think one of the triggers is whether or not it reflects poorly on the institution.
Absolutely.
But I'm proud to say I think West Virginia is a little more inclined in worrying about the image and the kids. Now, that may change in the future, because if the kids that are coming out of the transfer portal and they're coming for pay and they're really only interested in the NFL, because we've seen a few that don't bother to go to our bowls afterwards. And Coach Huggins complains about kids that bail on their teammates and run off because there is less loyalty to the school. These are the questions you have to decide, and you guys are the ones that'll make the difference.
Absolutely.
Because if the noisemakers that are yelling "just win" are the loudest noises and put the most pressure on, they will end up coercing the administration to bring in the winners, even if the winners are stinkers.
Yeah, no matter what. That's a very good point. And so then it begs the question, not if we're just in the college football realm, what about politically? All right, so if do you elect somebody who cheats on his wife in his office?
If you're one of the ones that said, I don't care what Bill Clinton did to his wife, I don't care that Donald Trump was an ass, they both presided over good economics. If you're one of those, I get it.
Yeah.
If you're one of those that said, well, I didn't like Clinton, but I like Trump, or vice versa, you're being inconsistent. And if you're one of the ones that said, I don't want either of those, we reelected Clinton, we didn't reelect Trump. If you're one of those that say, I don't want either of those, I want a more noble guy, then at least we know what category you're in. But you're going to get more of what you tolerate. And
yes, that's a very good point.
I think there's an awful lot of good people out there that are quiet and tolerating things that if they stepped up, we'd change some of these dynamics.
And goodness knows there's enough places to make your voice known nowadays. YouTube, like we're doing, Twitter, Facebook, there's all kinds of stuff. So you have a voice.
But you got to talk.
Yeah.
The grumblers, the just win babies, the win at any cost people, the fire somebody, they're all over the place, and they're loud and they're frequent. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying they're the noisemakers, and the noisemakers get the attention. And that brings, while we're talking about it, it was just a couple of years ago that the noisemakers wanted Jim Harbaugh fired.
It's true. At Michigan. Yeah, they were ready to run him out of town. He hadn't beaten Ohio State. He hadn't won the Big Ten. Yeah, they wanted him out.
And before the season had started, there were a number of commentators that said, oh, no, he won't make it through the season.
Paul Feinbaum, I'm going to name him. Paul Feinbaum said he's got no chance. He won't make it through the season. Or if he, at the very least, he would be fired at the end of that season.
Feinbaum's a clod.
Well, I don't think much
he
of
says
either,
things that are right now and then, but he's a
his
clod.
name's Paul, so what do you
That's the closest thing I got for him. But he
about his only
predicted it to
redeeming
be
quality, right?
before the season started. He said Harbaugh wouldn't make it through the season, and Harbaugh won the Big Ten championship
and went to the Final Four.
And
That was
went
2
to-
years ago. It was not this year. It was last year, actually.
Then Harbaugh went to the Final Four again this year. He got beat by TCU. Now but they were ready to fire him 2 years ago, and that's what the noisemakers were saying. It was a lot of noisemakers. I can give you the same thing in Oklahoma.
Please don't get me wrong. I don't like no Jim Harbaugh, the Harry Potter looking, you know what. But it's just an example. Go ahead.
That's a good point. That's a good disclaimer. See, what we like doesn't. We're making a bigger point.
Yeah,
we're making a bigger point.
Exactly.
I can give you another example. 2 years ago, West Virginia was playing Oklahoma in Oklahoma, and we were leading the entire game until Oklahoma came down the field, kicked a field goal, and won. Now that's almost unheard of, and it had been unheard of to go to Oklahoma and beat them. Those fans were booing their quarterback, Rattler, and they were calling for the firing, not of their head coach, but certainly of their coordinators. They were all over the boards, mad just because it was a close win. They were ranked at the time. Well, they ended up getting rid of their head coach, who went to Southern California.
He left. He on his own. And Rattler left.
And they ended up losing Rattler. Now, the quarterback they've got since then hasn't been worth a darn compared to Rattler, Rattler went to South Carolina and has beaten Tennessee, Clemson, and somebody in the bowl game.
LSU. They beat LSU. They didn't beat LSU in the bowl game, but they did beat LSU.
They beat Missouri or something. They beat anyway, Rattler has prevailed. He's done well. Southern Cal hasn't done bad. It was Oklahoma that was stumbling around. My point is, the grumblers were the ones that were the loud noises. And those grumblers get on every board. They want to fire Dana Holgorsen down in Houston. They did fire old Homework over at Texas State.
Texas State, yeah.
And they come out. So if you like a solid, dependable, roll up your sleeves and work at it coach, even though he only wins 7 or 8 games or whatever, you have to make your intentions known, because otherwise we're not going to. Otherwise, the noisemakers will take away from you what you want to see.
Please forgive me, error correction. South Carolina beat Tennessee when they were number 6. They beat Clemson when they were number 7. They actually lost to Notre Dame in their bowl game. So anyway,
they did lose to Notre Dame.
They lost to Notre Dame in the bowl game. Yeah. So 45-38. So.
Well, Rattler turned out to be a very good quarterback. They were blaming the troubles with West Virginia on Rattler, and I think it was some other things and we caught him by. So we could have won that game, by the way. I don't want to get into that, but my point is if you're upset about the coach, go ahead and make your voices known. I got no problem with that. Preferably, you focus on the program and not just wins and losses. But if you're supporting the coach, I happen to think we got 2 good ones at West Virginia. I don't want to lose. Nobody's happy with mediocrity. Exactly. Nobody in the administration wants to lose. The question is, would you trade what you got for a drunk or a cheat or a liar? I don't know.
That's the question. It's your value system, really. What do you want in a? We'll go back to the question we asked at the beginning. What do you want in a head coach? Do you want them to win all the time? Okay, well that's fine. If they, we all want them to win. Well, that's a given. We all want them to win all the time. I mean, my goodness. The coach at Kentucky, which I don't like, a basketball coach, Calipari. I don't care much for him, but they're having a kind of a down year
Right.
for their standards.
That's a good point.
And they are howling for his rear end to be fired.
And he's a legend when it comes to basketball coach.
But here's the other point I want to make about it. Because he's kind of a jerk, he isn't out of the way, that if he's not successful, the detractors will come out and barking at him a lot faster than they will at somebody who's not a jerk, kind of like our head coach at WVU.
The doctor with a good bedside manner doesn't get sued for medical malpractice near as often as the abrupt doctor does. It makes a difference.
Even if he screws up more than the abrupt doctor. In my business, I would say I have seen situations where we messed up people's cars trying to fix them and not have as big a problem as somebody who thinks we're trying to rip them off. It's how you taught them, because they look at you, you get the reputation. You're doing the right things the right way.
So if we elect a president, we're not electing a pope. So he doesn't have to be perfect, but does he need to be something better than just a plumber or a mechanic or whatever? When we hire a coach, are we really looking for one to inspire the kids? Then we need one that helps the kids. That should be a factor in our considerations, and not just win, baby, win.
And this might be a little controversial. Maybe I say in this I shouldn't, but we probably need a coach like that more than ever nowadays, because I don't know what the quality of parenting is in our world.
I think West Virginia certainly does. I think West Virginia needs to build a team. I don't think a team's necessarily the most talented. If the most talented won every time, the New York Yankees would win baseball every year. Yeah. And Texas would beat us every year. I think it's about a team, and I think that's getting the right kind of player. I think we're on the right track. Hey, we're going to give you some more varied topics in the future, not just on sports, but on other things. If you want to make sure you don't miss anything, you need to subscribe or like or go to Facebook and add your name in there. Feel free to tell us what your thoughts are. Coming up are going to be other items on the NIL, most everybody is confused about what that's going to be. It's going to be the Wild West.
Anybody understands it anymore.
It may take us a couple of rants to explain that to everybody, but we want you to be informed on that, so you'll be prepared. I've got some personal complaints about the networks that are controlling the conferences now and narrowing down my options as a football fan. Along those lines, you're going to hear me anyway complaining about some of the TV coverage. Because I just want to watch the football game. I really don't care about somebody in the stands eating a hot dog or somebody dressed up, but I want to see the formation. I want to hear more about the linemen. We're going to do that too. We're going to start featuring some of the players, some of the coaches, and some of the linemen, and give a little shout out to each of them. If that increases their ability to sell their NIL and that helps West Virginia, that's good. But we're not going to limit it to West Virginia, because there's some good players on other teams. We're going to cover some basketball as well. That's hard to do on a regular basis. They play so many games, and frankly, I don't know a whole lot. A short, fat, white guy like me doesn't know a lot about basketball.
Well, I played a little bit of basketball, so I know a little bit. But it's not our strong point, obviously.
We're going to encourage and give pep talks to get involved, because we don't want you to fall into a rut where other people control what you do. To that end, we're going to remind you of things like what happens with cults. What happens with when government takes over, what happens when you guys step back and let somebody else run the show. I think we're way too tolerant. I think there's a big, solid, healthy, decent group of people out there that are sitting back and letting the noisemakers run the show. I think the media caters to it.
What do you think? That's what I'm like.
Exactly.
I want to stir that up. Come on, let's start this conversation. Put some comments in there. Let us know what you think. No matter how you believe, whatever you believe, I want to hear it, because that's what we want to do.
And we want to be uplifting too. Look, if you turn on Hannity or Fox, they go sifting through all of the people on the left to find the most extreme and the most outrageous comments, and paraded around. And after a while, you start to think everybody on the left is a wacko. If you go to MSNBC and CNN and watch them, they go sifting around through the people on the right and come up with QAnon. I never heard of QAnon. I'm in the right. I'm as right. I'm slightly to the right of Attila the Hun. I never heard of it. And they convince their people that the world is, that the right wing is full of those. That's not the way people are.
No, it's not.
That's not the way people are. And so we want to remind you of that. By the way, I mentioned to you earlier, on the boards, I find myself looking at West Virginia boards, and on the political boards, I'll see a couple of guys and I'll think, I like him, I don't like him. Then I'll go over to the sports boards and it's just the opposite. Say, what about this fellow? I like him when we're talking about sports. I don't like him when we're talking about it. It's because people are just people.
Exactly.
We need to talk about issues. We need to make our views known. You need to make your views known. Tell us about it.
Talk to each other. Discussion is how you get to a point where you maybe can agree about something instead of don't point to what we disagree about and then just keep pushing the division apart. That's what I hate to see in this country. Now, so it seems like we don't have any discussion about anything anymore.
Well, argue and debate.
We all have our opinion and we yell at each other. And then let's stop that and talk about it.
Let's argue and debate. Just don't hate. I mean, that's it.
Yes, I want to argue and debate.
Now, I'll be McCarthy and you be the House of Representatives.
I'll yell at you all day long. How about this? This is my example. I'll yell at you all day long what I disagree with you about. But when it's time to go over, let's go out and have a dinner, or let's go out. I don't care. All right, that's gone. We can be civil to each other without just yelling.
Unless you're from Pitt.
No.
Thank you for like and subscribe, fellas. We'll see you on the next one of the next upcoming topics.
Thanks for watching. See you later.